Shalom. First thing and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekakwadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Noise in this gospel, broad lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. Lord's would be edifying. It says, soaring debt, pushing wealthy nations to fiscal death, economists. Global borrowing topped a record $300 trillion last year. All right. Which we know that the national debt is like over 400-something trillion dollars. Now, the debt here, according to the U.S. debt clock, I think they're around 34 trillion, maybe 35, because, I mean, the debt is literally increasing by the second. Like, you can look up. Matter of fact, let's do this real quick. The U.S. national debt clock. The U.S. debt clock, which you have it here in real time. Y'all see this number here to the left? 34 trillion 521 billion 561 million, and it's going up. Just it's crazy. This is out of all the purchases, all the transactions, all the loans being taken out. Okay, all the default on credit cards, the delinquencies, the debt, and the list goes on, man. Okay, it says debt per taxpayer, $266,500, man. Debt per citizen, $102,633. Okay, which I kind of disagree with that, because it came out that every citizen that's born in the United States are born into like $100,000 in debt. You know, because this is a debt note. This U.S. dollar, the money, in fact, the legal tender that you're paying with, it's a debt note. And honestly speaking, debt is what keeps these businesses funded, because they're constantly collecting from the consumer, which we're the consumer. Okay, it says here national U.S. total debt, which is 1, 2, 3, so 4, 5, 1, 2, 4, 5. Damn, I think that's like 97 billion 897 trillion 889 billion 360 million. Wow. Savings per family, $11,354. This place is through, man. Okay, and they need to go in and let this shit collapse. But anyway, going back into the article. And it reads, it says major economies that fail to address their mounting debt issues would die of fiscal death. The head of the investment and wealthy advisor Laffer Tangler Investments, Arthur Laffey, has warned. It says in an interview with CNBC this week, he predicted a decade of debt, adding that the borrowing crisis has embraced both developed and emerging countries and is not going to end well. It says the global debt has surged around $100 trillion from a decade ago and hit a record of $307.4 trillion last September, amid the biggest surge in global interest rates in 40 years, according to The Economist. And this is what happens when you rule with usury. Okay, when you are borrowing money from an establishment that ain't being backed by shit, the debt is just going to soar out of control. And this is why you have an all-time default on mortgages, car loans. You know, people are getting evicted at an all-time high, and the list goes on, because people can't afford to make ends meet, you know, which this system was pretty much set up to fail. Going back to 1913, the establishment of the Fed on what they called Jekyll Island, and back in the 70s, they took the dollar off a gold standard, which pretty much sealed the dollar's demise, because now it's being backed by what they call the petrodollar. In reality, the U.S. dollar is being backed by the military, because when Esau wants to overthrow countries and set up central banks, he shows up with the military. Okay, as far as bagging it up, the petrodollar, the deal with the Saudis and Americans, that's pretty much one dry. So it's just a matter of time before all hell break loose, man. Okay, like last week, gas prices then jumped up from $2 and I want to say like I think it was like 280, 290, all the way up to like $3.25 on average. Okay, which, you know, we in a time now of March. When things get hot, you know, warmer, things starts to go up, energy prices. But regardless of it, you know, this system is getting ready to fall. And I believe that the fall of this system, this is when they're going to introduce the MOTB. But the system has to collapse first, because when you think about it, like every time the government is threatening of shutting down, then all of a sudden they pass a $400 billion spending bill to fund the government for another 45 days, and then they got another 45. I mean, another 400 billion. You know what I'm saying? And that's already over $1 trillion right there, man. You know. So it reads here. It says wealthy countries such as U.S., UK, France, and Japan account for more than 80% of the increase due to the uncontrolled accumulation of debt. It says China, India, and Brazil saw the most pronounced growth of borrowings among emerging markets. And it reads, I will expect that some of the bigger countries that don't address their debt issues would die a slow fiscal death, including America, because they're not paying their bills off. But Lafer said, adding that some emerging economies could quite conceivably go bankrupt. And while the UK, they have the British pound, I believe the Russian, you got the Russian ruble, which I believe their currencies are backed by gold. So, I mean, even if they did default, they have gold in their reserves, so they can sustain themselves, unlike this place. The elites and stole everything. So who's going to suffer? The people, the consumers, which will lead into chaos and just upright global anarchy, or just outright anarchy, purge-like scenarios. And it's coming. But it says, while low-income countries are at high risk of debt distress, repaying debt will be particularly problematic for high-income countries due to an aging population and a lack of workforce, and the economists warn. It says the most recent report by the Institute of International Finance shows that a share of debt has hit a staggering 336% of global GDP, which is gross domestic product, compared to an average debt of GDP